Hey friends, what up? Welcome back to, whatever. Hey friends, what up? Whatever that works. Hey friends, what up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Daled, Daf 4 of Masechta Hagiga. Friends, how's Masechta Hagiga going so far? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up, right? Well, where did we get up to yesterday? I think, we got up to, okay. That looks good. Friends? So, the first part of today's daf, we continue kind of talking about people who are pater from being Ola, from Re'iyah, from the Olas Re'iyah on the Shalosh Regam, and then we get to some interesting, kind of Agarite kind of stuff, and then we get to some very interesting stuff about the Malach HaMavis. Yeah, there's an interesting little thing there at the end about the Malach HaMavis. I don't know, kind of an interesting little thing over there, friends. We're going to start in Daf Daled Amud Aleph. Wow, I've totally been spacing out on WhatsApp, coming to think of it. Oh man, I feel like I haven't been... Wow, I've been very spacey about a lot of things recently. Alright, friends, let's go weiter. So, we're on 6 lines into the daf, and Daf Daled Amud Aleph. V'tumtum v'androginos chule. Alright. So he said that for people who are tumtums and androgynoses, so they don't be ola regel. Oh, you see, I don't have the heat on. I turned off the heat today for the first time in 2 weeks, or maybe more, I don't know. But I keep on forgetting that the floor is cold. Alright. We got a daf to learn. So, who can tell me what a tumtum is? A tumtum is a fellow who it's unclear. It's neither the genitalia of a male or a female, apparently. So, because it's kind of unclear what he is. But androgynous is the opposite. Androgynous has both. So, cool. So, both tumtum and androgynous are pater from olas re'iyah. Taner Rabbanan, the Rabbi Stad Zachor le hotzias anoshim zechurcha Lotzi tumtum androgynous, right? What does the pasuk say? It says, Shalosh paimim b'shana, 3 times in the year, Yeroi kol zechurcha, all of your males will be seen before God. So if it would just say zachor, so that would lotzias anoshim, so that would exclude women, right? Zachar, a male, to exclude a female. Zechurcha, when it says zechurcha, so it's lotzi tumtum androgynous, it adds to the exceptions, a tumtum and an androgynous. Kol zechurcha, when it says kol zechurcha, right, all of your males, so it's going to include kitanim, minors. Now, of course, the Mishnah had already excluded minors, right? We said cheresh shota v'katan is pater, so the Gemara is going to ask. But anyways, we're saying that all your males, kol zechurcha, is coming to include minors. We said earlier, zachor lotzias anoshim. So we had just said that when it says zachor, meaning if it would just say zachor, so we would already exclude women. It says zachorcha, so then we exclude also tumtum ve'androgynos. But okay, so because it's if it would say zachor, so we would exclude women from olas re'iyah. Halam likra. But the Gemara says, one second, why would I need a pasuk to say that women are exempt from olas re'iyah? Mirde mitzvahs esish azman gramahu. Ha 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 ha. Well, friends, was anybody thinking that? No, being ola regel is a mitzvah esesh azman grama. It's a time-bound mitzvah. It's specific times throughout the year that you're ola regel, and therefore v'chol mitzvah esesh azman grama nosim p'turis. And in general, we have a rule that any positive commandment that is time-based, such as here, right, be ola regel and offer a korban olas re'iyah these specific times in the year. So then, memele, women will be exempt. So then, why do I need a pasuk to teach me that women are exempt by olas re'iyah? Memele, if it's a mitzvah esesh azman grama, women are p'turis. Itzrich and for the Gemara. The Gemara says no, you need the pasuk because sakadai techamino. What may I have thought to say? Like we said yesterday, neile for re'iyah mehakol, that we should make exer shava to learn olas re'iyah from hakol, where it also says re'iyah. What does it say by Hakel? It says, I don't know, who could remind me? B'vo kol Yisrael le'ro, says Pnei Hashem. Right, so it says re'iyah dar enoichet. So therefore, I may have thought to say that malahala noshim chayavis, avka noshim chayavis. So I may have thought to say that just like by hakol, women have the obligation to take part in hakol. So I might think the same by olas re'iyah. Kamash malan. Therefore, it says zechurcha to say that no, that women are exempt from the korban olas re'iyah. Amar Mai, we said earlier, zechurcha lotzi tumtum vandroginus. So we said that when it says zechurcha, it's to exclude a tumtum and an androgynous. B'shlama androgynous itzrich. So I understand why you have to exclude an androgynous, because I may have thought to say that, well, an androgynous sort of both has the genitalia of both a male and a female. So I might think, well, part of this person is male. So therefore, I might have the meaning to say that he should be chayiv in olas re'iyah, or chayiv to be seen before God in the azare of the Beis HaMikdash. So kamash malon. Therefore, the pasuk has to say zechurcha to exclude an androgynous. However, kamash malon debirya b'fnei atzmahu. So the pasuk is saying no, he's not considered male. He's considered kind of his own thing, and therefore he's excluded from re'iyah. Fine. Elo tumtim. But why do I need to exclude a tumtum? Sveikahu. After all, it's completely a suffix. We want to say an androgynous is arguably both male and female to some extent, but a tumtum is neither. So then Memele, he's going to be excluded, he's going to be pater from olas re'iyah. So itzrich, I may have thought to say, so mitzrich kral lemute sveika, do I need a pasuk to exclude a suffix? Why should I think that he would be chayiv in the first place? So Amar Abaye kshebeitzav mevachutz. So says Abaye that's talking about, well, even though he's a tumtum and he has neither genitalia of a male or a female, but his testicles are on the outside, and therefore I guess maybe it can be considered like maybe he's a male. So Memele, the pasuk says no, he's excluded oichit. Alright, let's go weiter. Amar Mai, we said earlier, kol zechurcha l'rabbis es aktanim. So when it says kol zechurcha, so then it includes minors. But one second, as I pointed out a few minutes ago, didn't our Mishnah already say that a cherish, somebody who's deaf, a shoyte, somebody who's foolish, and a kain, a minor, all of them are pater from re'iyah? So how come we're saying over here that kol zechurcha is to include minors? I thought we excluded minors. So Abaye lo kasha, says Abaye, nah, don't worry about it. Kan b'koin shegiya lechinuch, kan b'koin shlegiya lechinuch. That it depends how small, how minor this minor really is. Right? If he's so minor that he hasn't even reached the age where we want to start training him in mitzvahs, so then that's what the Mishnah is talking about. He's pater. However, if he's old enough that even though he might be a minor, he's less than bar mitzvah, however, we want to start training him already in mitzvahs, so then that is when we say kol zechurcha to include this kind of a minor. But in fact, the Gemara says yes, but still, a minor who we want to train to do mitzvahs is still at the end of the day only obligated rabbinically to do this mitzvah. Meaning, the whole point is that a minor is not midoraisa, is not biblically commanded. A minor is not biblically commanded to be ola regel. However, midarabanan, we want to sort of reinforce the doing a mitzvah. So therefore we'll say, okay, he should be ola regel. But ultimately, it's only midarabanan. Midoraisa is pater. He's a minor, and therefore, why are we saying that kol zechurcha is to include minors? If we're saying that they're only chayiv midarabanan, so then why are we learning out from a pasuk in the Torah? If we learn out from a pasuk in the Torah, then it applies the oraisa. And for the Gemara, eina chinami v'kras machna ba'alma. The Gemara says eina chinami. The Gemara says it's true. A minor who has reached the age of where we want to train him to do mitzvahs is only chayiv midarabanan. So therefore, yes, clearly we're not learning out from a pasuk that to include minors. However, the pasuk is just an asmachta. We're basing it on a pasuk. Either we're saying it's midarabanan, but look, you can kind of apply it to this pasuk, but it's not to say that this katan will be chayiv actually midoraisa. It's only an asmachta. Ve'ela kra l'mayasa. Okay, fine. So if we're saying that kol zichurcha to include minors is really only just an asmachta, so then what do we actually learn out from kol zichurcha? So the acherim, it's like acherim says, the Tanya acherim omrim, say acherim amakamez v'ametzaif nechoshes v'aborsi, that somebody who picks up dog feces because he needs it for epis, v'ametzaif nechoshes, somebody who what does metzaif mean? To like, what's that called? To like purify, I think, like copper. I guess you make it like really hot and stuff. V'aborsi, and somebody who works with hides, a tanner. So p'turim min hariyah, they're all potter from being ola regel, from olas riyah. Mishum shenemar, as the pasuk says, kol zechurcha mishiyachol alos from kol zechurcha. When it says all of your males, it means that they have to be people who are able to be ola regel with all the other men, with all the other people. Yatzu elu, to the exclusion of these, she'enan mu'in la'alos from kol zechurcha, that they're not really shaykh to be ola regel with everybody else because of the nature of their work. They smell bad, right? That somebody who's always working with hides, so he doesn't smell very good, so therefore he shouldn't really be ola regel with everybody else because it would be unpleasant, and therefore he's potter from olas riyah because he's not shaykh to be with kol zechurcha. He's not shaykh to be with everybody else because it may not be pleasant for everybody else. Okay, so we had mentioned in our Mishnah that women are exempt from being ola regel, from olas riyah, and also slaves who are not freed. All right, bishlama nashim kidamar. So I understand why women are exempt from being olas riyah. As we said, it says v'zechurcha. One of the things that we learn out from there is that it excludes women, that women are pturis. Elo avadim minalan. How do I know that slaves are also exempt from olas riyah? Rivuna makra. So it says Rivuna that the pasuk says El pnei adon Hashem, that it says that 3 times a year you'll be seen before the master God. Mishein lo elo adon echad. So meaning it's a reference to somebody who only has one master. Yatsa zeh sheish lo adon acher. It's the exclusion of a slave, because a slave has more than one master, not just God, but also his human master. But still, why do I need a pasuk in order to exclude a Eved Kanani, a slave, a Canaanite slave? One second, we have a principle, which is that any mitzvah that that women are obligated to do, so then also slaves have the same level of obligation, same category of obligation. And any mitzvah that a woman is exempt from, so then is not obligated in, so then a slave is also not obligated in, and therefore, right? Let's go back there for a second. The Gomer la meisha. Yeah, we learn out Gzeir Shava of law. It says law by shivcha kanainis. It also says law by marriage, or I think really by divorce. So we learn out that any mitzvah that a woman is chayiv in, a slave is chayiv in, and also any mitzvah that a woman is exempt from, so a slave is exempt from, and therefore, so if we already know that women are exempt from olas riyah, so memela a slave is exempt from olas riyah, why do I need a pasuk to teach me that? So Amar Ravina says, Ravina lo nitzcha ela lemi shechetzio eved v'chetzio ben chorin. So what we're talking about here, that we need the pasuk to exclude from, and what the Mishnah is talking about when we exclude an eved from being ola, from an olas riyah, it's talking about l'mishachetzu eved v'chetzu ben chorin, somebody who's 50% slave and 50% free. Dekanami, you can also infer the ketani nashim ba'avadim she'enan mishuchorin, right? That one second. Okay, fine. So that the Mishnah says that women are exempt from olas riyah, but also not just slaves, but slaves who are not completely free, who are not free. So what does it mean, slaves who are not free? If it just means that slaves who are not free at all, right? That they're just completely enslaved. So then it should just say Nashim va'avadim. What's avadim she'eino mishuchrorin? So elalab she'eino mishuchrorin legamre. No, rather it means that they're not completely free. Ma'ininu mishchetzu eva v'shchetzu ben chorin. Who is a slave that's not completely free but is partially free? Somebody who, let's say, has two masters and one of them freed him, one of them didn't. So we're saying that he is potter from being ola regel. No, that he's potter from olas re'iyah, because I may have thought to say that maybe he should be chayiv in olas re'iyah because he's 50% free. So therefore, he says that taka is potter shmamina, that he's taka potter from olas re'iyah. And Rashi points out that, of course, on Daf Beis, we said that ultimately Beis Hillel agreed with Beis Shammai that we would not have an arrangement where a slave is 50% free and 50% enslaved. Rather, we would force the master to sort of completely free the slave. And therefore, even in this case, when you have 50% slave and 50% free, he would be chayiv, because we treat it as though the other master already freed him entirely and he's entirely free. But this was before Beis Hillel agreed with Beis Shammai, and we're saying in that case, if you have somebody who's 50% free and 50% slave, it would taka be potter. Alright, but again, Beis Hillel ultimately agreed with Beis Shammai that in this case we would free this slave entirely, and therefore we would consider him to be chayiv in the mitzvah of olas re'iyah. Continues the Mishnah, Hagiga v'asuma v'achola v'azaken, and somebody who's lame, somebody who's blind, somebody who's sick, somebody who's old. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught regalim. Then when the pasuk says regalim, which is like legs, prat levai lekabin, to the exclusion of people that have like that one of their legs is amputated and they have like a peg. Davar acher, alternatively, regalim, feet, prat lechiger v'lachola v'lasuma v'lazaken, to the exclusion of somebody who's lame, somebody who's sick, somebody who's blind, somebody who's, I guess, too old to walk, v'she'enu yachol lalos b'raglav, and just somebody who generally is unable to be ola with his feet. V'she'enu yachol where am I? Yeah. V'she'enu yachol lalos b'raglav lasuye mai. So, when we say pretty vaguely, like, and somebody who's just unable to walk. Who's this person who's just unable to walk? So, mai, lasuye mai, what's it coming to include? Rave, Nasui mefanke, to include people who are very pampered. Meaning it's talking about somebody who's so pampered that they, in the Beis Hamikdash you don't wear your shoes, right? So somebody who's unwilling to go to the Beis Hamikdash because he doesn't want to be able to walk borvis, he doesn't want to be able to walk without his shoes on. Lemaisa, I don't have my shoes on right now, but I'm at my house. There are people at WeWork. There's one guy at WeWork recently. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm not pretend I didn't say anything. All right. So mefanke dichsiv kisavo leros panai mibikejos miedchem b'moschatzerai, that it says that the Eibishter got upset with the Yidden, and it says when you come to be seen before me on the Shalosh Regalim, who asked for you to come and like trample in my chutzers, in my courtyards. I guess, and what we're learning out from here is that you shouldn't wear any shoes in the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, fine. And therefore, somebody who's unwilling to do that, unwilling to walk borvis in the Beis Hamikdash, so barefoot, so then he can't. So then he's potter from being ola regel. Interesting. All right. I keep on saying ola regel from the olas re'iyah. Fine. Let's go weiter. Tana, we take a learn in a brisa oral, a fellow who doesn't have a bris milah. Rashi says because his brothers died because of bris milah, so he doesn't have a bris milah. Ve'atame, a fellow who is impure, p'tur min ha're'iyah, they are potter from re'iyah. Bishlama tame, so I understand why somebody who's impure is potter from re'iyah. Tichsiv, as the pasuk says, uvasu sham v'avesim sham, that you will go to the Beis Hamikdash and you will offer a korban in the Beis Hamikdash. Kol sheshnu b'biyeshnu ba'ava, somebody who's able to enter into the temple is somebody who has an obligation to bring an olas re'iyah. However, but somebody who's unable to enter the temple, so einu ba'ava, so then he doesn't bring in a korban olas re'iyah, and therefore somebody who's tamei, who's unable to enter the Beis Hamikdash, so then he doesn't have any obligation to offer a korban olas re'iyah, not by way of a messenger or anything like that. Elo aro minolan. So how do we know that somebody who doesn't have a bris milah is potter from olas re'iyah? Hamani Rabbi Akiva, this Bryce is Rabbi Akiva, the marbe, the aral katame, who treats a aral, somebody who doesn't have a bris milah, like an impure person. The Tanya we learn in the Bryce, Rabbi Akiva, says Rabbi Akiva ish, that it says in the context of Kohanim eating kodshim, it says lirabos es ha'aral. When it says ish, right? Now what does the pasuk say? It says the pasuk. Where am I? Says the pasuk ish mizera aharin v'tzarua. If he's got tzara, so zav b'kodshim lo yochal, he shouldn't eat kodshim. And we say ish comes to include also an aral should not eat kodshim, right? The rabbis is aral, that an aral also does not eat kodshim, and therefore we treat an aral like somebody who is tamei, and therefore if somebody who's tamei does not bring in olas re'iyah, so then oichit an aral does not bring in a korban olas re'iyah. Taner Rabbanan, the rabbis taught tamei pater min re'iyah. Somebody who's impure is pater from olas re'iyah. The Chsiv, the pasuk says uvaso shama v'avesim shama, that he will go to the Beis Hamikdash and he will offer in the Beis Hamikdash. Kol sheyeshna b'biyah yeshna b'ava, as we said a minute ago, that somebody who has an obligation to, right, somebody who's able to enter into the temple is somebody who has an obligation to offer a olas re'iyah. Chol she'einu b'biyah einu b'ava, and somebody who is unable to enter the temple because he's impure, so then also he's potter, he doesn't have an obligation to bring a olas re'iyah. Rabbi Yochanan ben Daivai Omer Mishum Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yochanan ben Daivai in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, Suma ba'achas me'enav, a fellow who's blind in one eye, as we saw the other day on Daf Beis. Pater min re'iyah is pater from re'iyah. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, yira yera'eh, right? It says, what does the pasuk say? It says, shalosh paimim b'shana yera'eh kol zchurcha, right? So we read it yera'eh, but technically it's also written yir'eh, he will see. And the drasha is, k'derech shebaliros, just like God comes to see with his two eyes, kach baliros, so also a fellow is going to be seen by God, right, when he has two eyes, but liros b'shteinav, just like God sees with two eyes, af liros b'shteinav, also somebody is going to be seen with vision in two eyes. Says the Gemara, Rav Huna, kimati la'ikra yir yeroeh bachi. So Rav Huna, whenever he would arrive at the pasuk of yireh yeroeh, right, that God sees the Yidden are seen by God, bachi, Rav Huna would cry. Omar, he said, Evet sh'rabba mitzapelo l'roso, a servant that his master yearns and looks forward to seeing him. Yisrachik mimenu, the master all of a sudden would distance himself from the servant. The pasuk says, Kisavo liros panai, that the pasuk says in Yeshaya that when you will come to see my face, who wants it? God says, I don't need you to come here and trample in my courtyards. That how far we've fallen, how sad it is that once upon a time the Eibishter wanted, right? It was the highlight of the Eibishter's year, so to speak, right? That God wanted that we should be seen in Yerushalayim on the Shalosh Regalim, and then we have a pasuk in Yeshaya that describes how the Eibishter says, I really don't need you coming here and making a mess. Rav Huna kimati la'ikra bachi. Rav Huna, when he would arrive at the following pasuk, he would cry, that the pasuk says, v'zavachto shlom v'achalto sham, that you will go to Yerushalayim and you'll slaughter korban shlomim and you'll eat them in Yerushalayim. A servant that his master looks forward to eating on his table, to enjoying korban shlomim with him. Yisrachik mimenu, that master will distance himself from the servant. Tichsiv, as the pasuk says, between us and God, that while at one point the Eibishter looked forward right? V'zavachta shlomim ve'achalta sham. The Eibishter looked forward to receiving korban shlomim on the mizbeach, and all of a sudden we've gotten so far that God says, "Lama li rov zivchechem yomer Hashem." Why do I need so many korbanos? Just leave me alone. Rabbi Lazar kimati la'ikra bachi. Rabbi Lazar, when he would reach the following pasuk, he would cry, "V'lo yachlu echav lanos." Also, that by Yosef HaTzadik, that when Yosef HaTzadik, he did the big reveal, Yosef HaTzadik tells his brothers, "It's me, it's your brother Joseph." And it says, "V'lo yachlu echav lanos." Also, that they were so stunned that they couldn't reply. If the rebuke of flesh and blood, right? Yosef reveals himself to his brothers and they're so thoroughly embarrassed. The rebuke of God, then certainly we should be shaken and we should take seriously and be embarrassed. When Rabbi Lazar would reach the following pasuk, he would cry, "Vayomer Shmuel el Shaul." As Shmuel says to Saul that Shaul goes to like a witch kind of person, like a magician, a machshefer, and Shaul says to her, "Bring me Shmuel." Shmuel was already dead, but Shaul was feeling kind of stuck in a bind, and he went to this necromancer. What's that? Is that like a thing? Anyways, and she brought Shmuel like to come to them. Vayomer Shmuel, and Shmuel says, "Shaul, lama your guys, Tony lahalos osi. What are you doing over here? Why are you waking me up from my dead slumber?" Uma Shmuel atzadik misyari min adin. That if Shmuel was scared of judgment, anu alachas kama v'chama, then certainly we should be scared of judgment. Shmuel. Mai, what does it mean that Shmuel was scared of judgment? The pasuk says, "Vatomer Isha el Shaul," that this woman said to Shaul, that this sort of sorceress said to Shaul, "Elokim ra'isi olim." I saw gods going up. Olim trei mashma. Olim is plural, implying at least two. Chad Shmuel ve'idach de'azul. Shmuel. What? Mashma Chad Shmuel V'idach. So one of them is Shmuel, and the other one does Shmuel v'asi leMoshe b'hadei. That Shmuel went and he chapped a rein Moshe oichet. Also Moshe Rabbeinu. Amrle, Shmuel says to Moshe Rabbeinu, "I don't understand, right? What's going on?" Shaul goes to this magician and says to her, "Bring me Shmuel, who's already dead." Shmuel is completely confused, like, why am I being brought back from the dead? Why am I being woken up? He gets shooken up, he gets scared, he goes to Moshe Rabbeinu. He says, "Moshe Rabbeinu, come with me." Maybe they're taking me to judgment. Come with me, because says Shmuel to Moshe Rabbeinu, there's nothing in the Torah that you wrote that I neglected to be mekayim, to fulfill. Therefore, it says that there were two of them. So we see that Shmuel was flustered and he was scared of the judgment, and therefore he brought Moshe Rabbeinu along with him. So if Shmuel was scared of judgment, then certainly we have what to be concerned about. Rabbi Ami kimati la'ikra bachi. Rabbi Ami, when he would arrive at the following pasuk, he would cry, "Yitin ba'afra piu ula yesh tikva." That he will place his mouth in dirt. Maybe then there's some hope. All right, it's part of eicha, kilu, that things are pretty shver. Omar kulai ve'ulai. Says Rabbi Ami that a person is gonna go and put his face in dirt, kilu, and still maybe there's hope. Just maybe. Rabbi Ami kimati la'ikra bachi. Rabbi Ami, when he would reach the following pasuk, he would cry, "Bakshu tzedek, bakshu anove." Seek out righteousness, seek out humility. Ulai tisasu b'yomav Hashem, and then just maybe, you will be hidden when God gets upset. Omar Kulei Ulai, says Reb Ami, that a person will seek righteousness and humility, and still maybe he'll have a chance to be hidden when the Eibishter gets upset. Friends, my throat got all dried out. I don't mind going weiter. Do you guys mind if I go weiter? Rabbi Asi, when he would reach the following pasuk, he would take a cry: Sinu ra ve'ehevu tov, hate evil, love good, v'atzigu b'shar mishpat, and upstand in the gate righteousness, justice. Ulai yechanan Hashem Elokei Yisrael. Maybe then God will show favor. The God of Israel will show favor. Kulei ve'ulai, right? That will do all this. Will hate evil. Will love good. Will uphold justice, and still maybe then God will show His favor. Rav Yosef kimati la'ikra bachi. Rav Yosef, when he would reach the following pasuk, he would take a cry, mishpat, that you can have a fellow who's taken away, who's killed, who dies without proper judgment. Says Rav Yosef, I don't understand. What does it mean yesh nispe below mishpat? That there's a person who can be chapterain before his proper time. Is it possible for somebody to die before his proper time? The Gemara says yes, it's possible. Ki hoder of Bevai bar Abaye. Have a shriach gabi malach hamovis. There Bevai bar Abaye, the malach hamovis would come to him all the time. Omele the shluchei, and one time the malach hamovis said to his assistant, Zil aisili Miriam magad l'seir nashaya. The malach hamovis says to his assistant, he says, all right, it's time. Go get for me Miriam who braids the women's hair. It's time for her to die. Also, and the assistant, he did the wrong thing. He brought the wrong Miriam. He killed the wrong person. Omarle, so the Malach HaMavis says to his assistant, says, wait, I said I need the Miriam who braids the hair of the women, not the Miriam who raises the kids. So Omarle, so the assistant says, okay, fine, I'll bring her back to life, I'll put her back. Omarle, to which the Malach HaMavis says, no, wait. No, once already you brought Miriam who raises the children. Okay, once already you brought her, let's keep her. But then Rav Bevai says to the Malach HaMavis, he says, I don't understand. If it wasn't her time to die, if it wasn't the time yet for Miriam, the raiser of the children, to die, then how were you able to take her if it wasn't her time yet? Havas Nikita, so the Malach HaMavis says, I'll tell you how I was able to chap her, how the assistant was able to chap her. That Havas Nikita Mas'era Biyada, that she was holding a poker in her hand, Vavas Koshagra Umecharia Tanura, that she was standing by an oven with a poker, and she was, kind of moving around the coals. She was sweeping out the coals from the oven. Shakalto v'anchosa agaba dekara, and she accidentally put the poker on her foot. Kodcha v'isra mazola, and she got burnt. And now, once she got burnt, she kind of her luck was kind of on the downswing, right? There was like a glitch in her luck, in her mazel, in her constellation. By Sisa, and then I was able to chap her. So even though it wasn't yet time for Miriam, the raiser of the children, to die, but because she burnt herself and she was in a shver matzav, so then my assistant was able to chap her on. Omer Bevai by Abaye, Isluchu Rishus leMeber Ochi. Bevai by Abaye says, wait, but are you just allowed to do this? When a person burns themselves, you can just kill him. Omer V'loksiv V'yesh Nisbe V'lo Mishpat. So the Malach HaMavis says, well, doesn't the pasuk say V'yesh Nisbe V'lo Mishpat, that there's a person who can be chapterain even if it's not the proper judgment? Omer, to which Bevai by Abaye says, V'oksiv Dor Holich V'dor Ba. But the pasuk says that one generation goes and the next generation comes. Ki'ilu. You can't just mess around with generations and stuff. One generation needs to be complete before the next generation can come. I.e., you can't just chap Miriam, the raiser of children, if it's not time for her to die yet? There's going to be a gap. Omar, so says the Malach HaMavis, Enochinami, Dar'ina lehu ono, Admal lehu lidara. Yeah, sure, I could kill Miriam, the raiser of the children, but just take her, schlep her around with me until the generation is complete. And only at that point, once the generation is complete, do I then pass her on to Duma, who's like in charge of all the dead people. So therefore he's saying, look, I guess that there's two sort of stages. There's the Malach HaMavis kind of kills a person, and then delivers the person to Duma. Sounds like he's like a middleman, a contractor. So therefore the Malach HaMavis says, look, I can kill Miriam, the raiser of the children, and then just schlep her around with me until it would be her proper time to die, and then at that point I hand her over to Duma. But then Rebbe Bar says, okay, fine, so you could do that, but still, all these years that she had still left in her life that you're taking away from her, what are you doing with the extra years? So says the Malach HaMavis, well, if there's a young Torah scholar who's pretty chilled out, he doesn't get upset at other people. Well, then what I do is I take like the extra years of Miriam, the raiser of the children, and I accidentally took her too early. So now that we have these extra years, so I give it to a Talmud Chacham who is like a chilled out dude, and he doesn't get upset at other people. Well, friends, that was daf. What daf was that? Daf Daled of Masechta Hagiga. I think it was a pretty interesting daf. I mean, we continued talking about like the different people that are like potter from Olas Riyah. We talked a shtickle about mitzvahs essay Shazman Grama, and then we got into some interesting agaritas about different psukim and different amoraim that would cry when they would get to these psukim. And then at the end, we had a very interesting sort of description about the Malach HaMavis and how sometimes they just it's almost like a free-for-all. It sounds like there's like no accountability over there. You're supposed to kill one person, killed somebody else. It's like, all right, well, since you killed her, we'll keep her. But yeah, it was also interesting discussion about Duma and how the Malach HaMavis is kind of a middleman. He kind of chaps around and kills the fellow and then delivers him to Duma. And in the event that he chapped around like too early, so then he kind of schleps around the person and delivers them to Duma a little bit later. So, alright, very interesting stuff, I think. But anyways, friends, that was Daf Daled of Masechta Hagiga. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out. Cheers.